welcome to the show today. I have a great topic for you. My guest is Karen Gruber, and she has come up with the Spiritual Client Code, and I'll be telling you more about that very shortly. First, a special hello to my Helping Parents Heal listeners in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I love knowing that you're tuning in, and I thank you for all your lovely comments. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and I'm glad you're getting a lot out of it. I want to tell you more about my guest, Karen. So Karen Gruber was winding up a hugely successful real estate career with her husband, and he was ready to call it quits, but Karen was not. And she felt she had far more to give to women who had not had the success that she had had. But in opening up her coaching practice, Karen began to interview her clients and prospects, and what she found shocked and angered her. And the women she encountered were carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders, bound by invisible chains to situations and relationships that dimmed their light. The common thread binding these tales was not just the sorrow they shared, but the underlying cause of their entrapment, which was financial dependency. Boy, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Many of these women had a calling as coaches, creatives, or spiritual entrepreneurs, but didn't know how to create a thriving business from their passions, or they were held back by lack of skill or confidence. That's where Karen saw that she could make a difference, and she created the Spiritual Client Code, which is a groundbreaking messaging methodology that revolutionizes the way spiritual entrepreneurs communicate, helping them to clearly articulate the benefits of their services to prospective clients. But her coaching did more than that. It gave them practical steps and tools to catapult their dreams into a successful business. To date, Karen has transformed the lives of women who are spiritual entrepreneurs and redefined the landscape of spiritual entrepreneurship, proving it is possible to achieve financial prosperity without sacrificing spiritual fulfillment, no matter what came before. Karen, I'm excited about this because I was in a situation like that. I was stuck in a very abusive marriage for 10 years when I was very young. And it was because I couldn't support myself. And so when I realized what the situation was and what I needed to do, I was on a mission to become financially independent. And I have stayed so since then. It's a very big lesson. So thank you for being on the show today. I've been looking forward to this. Would you tell me why? Like, I know you found these women, but what gave you the idea? Was it just these women's stories themselves that gave you the idea for your current work?
A lot of it. Like I always knew that I wanted to help people. Wanted to, the grandiose, I want to make the world a better place. I really, really do. And I really felt like coaching was a gift of mine and that would be like the vehicle. And the more I talked to women, the more it became apparent that like it's not just about making your dreams come true and having a great life, but really understanding how to be like you, how to be financially independent, knowing how to generate income, generate money in ways where you can choose into relationships or you can choose out of relationships. Because I found that so many women were truly suffering, like suffering in silence. Like this, it could be worse, right? It could be worse. I've survived this. So I can manage this. But that's no way to live, quite frankly. We have so many gifts to share with the world and with each other. And so that became the driver behind, okay, we're going to do this. And this is why. Like before that, I didn't really have a why other than it was really interesting to me. But then the more women that I interviewed, the more it became, okay, this like needs to stop now. And I need to get cracking.
Still, it's a difference between existing and truly living. And I think people who've never had it, they know there's something better, but they're not sure what it is. So I love that you can help lead them to discovering what that means for them, because it does mean different things to different people.
Yeah, it does.
So what would you say are the core principles of the Spiritual Client Code?
Well, it's really all about the biggest hurdle that I find in coaching my women to build their businesses in a way that spiritually fulfills them and earns them money is they don't know how to talk about their services because they're typically in a very healing realm. They're in the transformational coaching spaces or spiritual entrepreneurship, and they so want to talk about the beautiful process because it is so beautiful. We're going to do this and we're going to do this and it's going to be so fabulous, but they're not talking about the tangible benefits and outcomes that people will receive from working with them so that people will actually hand over the money. When we talk just in about our processes and how beautiful and fabulous it's going to be, people are like, well, that's a someday. That sounds lovely. And maybe I'll do that someday, but it doesn't become urgent. But when you can talk about things like stress or anxiety or building a business or pain relief or things that people can see themselves in, then they become interested. Then they're like, oh, she can do that for me? Oh, yeah, I'd pay for that. So it's really talking about things in an authentic but real, tangible. I mean, it's really all comes down to the tangibles.
I have to tell you, even as you're talking about that, I'm having a flashback to the early days of starting my business. And I had a business partner back then. And trying to articulate, it is very intense and it can be confusing and take a long process when you're doing it yourself, trying to articulate what you do and what people will get out of it. So that really is huge. And I do see a lot of people struggling with that. I can
Yes.
see it in what they're
Yeah.
talking about and what their ads say.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like a missing piece we've had from the puzzle, I think.
Yeah, yes, it truly is. And it's also because we know, I know, and the women I work with know that one, our work can benefit everyone, but we can't talk to everyone because then nobody sees themselves in that picture. And number two, it can fix literally anything and everything, right? And it's all a matter of where you're putting your focus, but we can't be so broad. And a lot of my work is teaching these women to release this idea of scarcity and lack. Well, if I'm only talking to this population, there's not enough people. There is always plenty of people, they're worried about, and maybe you've encountered this in the people that you help, they're worried about like, yeah, I'm going to call it niching down because then they can't help everybody. Well, you're going to resonate with the right people no matter who you designate yourself, to help. You're going to, what you say and how you message and how you talk about your work and the tangible benefits, it's going to resonate. I mean, I've had people come into my world. I've had a professional athlete come into my world who is not at all the person that I'm talking to, but he so loved what I was talking about. He was, can I work with you? So those people are going to find you, but you have to narrow down who you're talking to and then name those tangible benefits.
That is like an echo of something that's been going through my mind through the last week, which is how important it is. I think we are afraid to talk to a niche, and yet that's how you get your tribe. That's
Yeah.
how you get your client base. And I think people are afraid they're going to eliminate potential people, but the truth is that it makes it harder for the people who want to work with you to find you.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's good. And just like I'm equating this with being a writer, you cannot do final editing on your own book because you need fresh eyes and you need somebody who's outside of your business to take a look at what you're saying, what you're putting on your website, whatever you're talking about your business, and look at it with fresh eyes because you've seen it too much.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
So I see the benefit of it. How do you feel that the spiritual client code differs from other communication strategies, especially in the realm of spiritual entrepreneurship?
I believe that it differs because It takes the participant on a journey through her own discovery of what she's good at and her skills and how she's currently talking about her business and her services through emphasizing, really emphasizing the strengths and then bringing in the tangible lens. Like, I'm not telling people don't talk about your services, don't talk about the process. But in the messaging, we need to pull in more that's going to appeal and that's going to send somebody a signal to their brain that goes, I need that. Um, I love how you're talking about, the broad and bringing it in and the resonating because our clients, as you know, Ivory, need to see themselves in our work. They need to know that we can help them. And if we're too broad or we say, this changes everything, that's one of my people's favorite sayings. It changes everything. Well, it does. But people are like, well, that's too good to be true, or it's not going to change it for me. Or, we really need to help paint the picture of what it's going to look like when they're done working with us. And so this isn't just okay, you got to say A, B, and C. It takes them through a whole process that they can do in under 48 hours and really pull together the messaging that's going to be impactful, that is going to resonate with them. Like, I'm not going to put words in your mouth that you're going to feel weird saying or icky saying or not truthful, right? The things that we abhor in our businesses, and really come off in an authentic manner, really meaningful, where people are going to want to pay you for your services or your offerings.
And that's a big deal. I mean, I know a lot of people. I work with a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs, and some of them feel like they just can't get ahead. They get a few clients and they just are not reaching the level of success. I think this can be a way to break through that particular barrier. And so I hope that some of you out there, I know a lot of you out there have spiritual businesses, and that also healing businesses, metaphysical businesses fall
Yeah.
under that umbrella.
Yeah.
What specific challenges do you think spiritual entrepreneurs commonly face in their messaging?
Um, Mostly, I mean, the biggest one is what we've touched on, how to talk about what you do or what you provide and
Sense.
what is the transformation that you provide. But the other one is consistency. And I see there's a couple things. One is there are a lot of budding entrepreneurs that also have a full-time job, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you do need to set your expectations. If you can only contribute 4 or 5 hours a week to your business, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. And I encourage you, I mean, you got to start somewhere, right? But you can't expect the result of someone who's dedicating 40, maybe more hours per week in their business. And I see this happen when I'm helping clients and we're talking about, okay, I want to do this, this, and this. Like, a lot of them are, I want to do what you're doing. Okay, that's great, but we have to scale it to the hours that you're available, right? Your business is not going to look like mine until you earn enough and build up enough confidence, consistency, implementation, and you have the clientele then coming in and the money coming in. Then you can quit your job. Then you can, play full out, right? But I really encourage people, if they have 4 to 5 hours a week that they can dedicate to their starting business, is make sure the work you're doing is impactful. Meaning the number one thing you should be doing is outreach, calling people, emailing people, talking to your friends about who they know that could benefit from what you're doing. Like, outreach is the number one thing. And instead, I think people, and it has to do with confidence, it has to do a little bit with visibility issues, is they're spending time trying to create a website or picking and I'm guilty of this, right? I'm not finger pointing. This is what I was doing, trying to build a website, spending a week picking the perfect shade of blue for my logo. I mean, these were non-productive things. You don't need a website to start, right? You need you, and you should be talking to people, building relationships, talking to people you might be able to collaborate with. Like, building the relationships is number one. Then you can worry about everything else.
That makes so much sense because the truth is, creating a website and sitting back and waiting for business is like the old fashioned version of hanging a shingle out on
Right.
a brick and mortar business and just waiting for the business to roll in. So
Yeah.
I will tell you, I'm often advising clients to start with whatever limited time they have. Often it's because they're very unhappy in their work, yet they're close to retirement, or they can't walk away. Maybe they need the medical insurance
Yeah.
and can't walk away at that time. It gives them light at the end of the tunnel to start their business, even with, like you say, 4 or 5 hours a week. At least they're putting their energy into something positive for their future. So
Yes.
even if it builds slower, at least it's building, right?
Exactly, exactly. And I am never one. And I think this is not controversial, but there are different camps of thought on this. Like, some coaches will advise you, quit your job. That way you have no back door, right? You have to make it work. I think it is a very unique individual who can do that and make it work well. And I'm not saying that not everybody's capable of it, but there is a very unique individual who will use that as incentive. Most people, if they were to quit their job and all of a sudden it's all on them, would freak out and spin and swirl in a negative fashion. So I am, like you, Ivory, just a huge fan. Start small. Start something. It doesn't matter, but just, take baby steps and incremental steps, like you're saying, to set yourself up for success down the road.
And the other thing that's unique to spiritual work is unless you have a large bank account to fall back on, if you just quit your job and you go into fear, it's affecting your
Oh,
frequency and they're affecting your ability to attract clients and to do your work effectively.
absolutely. I could not agree more. That vibration of, oh, I gotta close this sale instead of showing up in service. And I don't care if it's a yes or a no. That's not important to me. What's important to me is that this person in front of me gets very clear on, do they want to do this or do they not? Instead of being, well, I don't know, I'd like to, but, I just wanna help them be very clear whether it's a yes or a no. And if I'm in that frenetic energy that you're describing, that doesn't happen, and people can feel you kinda, like, latching on and the desperation and the
I was
and
going to
that does
say,
not bode well.
desperation does not attract business.
No, no, it does not.
Not the business I want.
Right, right, for sure.
What do you feel is the significance of authenticity, particularly in messaging for spiritual businesses?
Oh, I feel, and I've seen this more than ever with, like, the AI technology and all of that, everybody is sounding the same. So you drawing on your own experiences, I mean, daily experiences, you having your own experience of this life and sharing that is more important than ever. And I am telling my ladies now, like, I don't like shooting on people. But, like, right now, you should be on video anytime you can, whether you're participating on someone else's platform, like a podcast or a summit or whatever, or you should be doing your own videos to your own community, your own audience, your own email list. Like, people want and crave connection. We crave it, especially in our universe, right?
Mhm.
And you showing up on video in one form or another helps really create that connection, speaking from your heart, from your truth, from your soul, as opposed to just writing or, cutting and pasting off of the AI kind of stuff. um Now, don't get me wrong, I love it for, like, idea generation and bouncing ideas, and oh, I hadn't thought of that. But to like the cut and the paste, I mean, it makes me nuts.
Yeah,
But
I
it's a
have
real
to.
opportunity too to not do that. There's a real opportunity for people here.
If you're not being authentic, you're being generic.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. I love that.
I
Yeah.
worked in advertising. I worked in radio.
Yeah, you
These things
are.
occur to me.
Mhm.
So, what do you think is important in understanding the audience's pain points in the spiritual client code? And I'd love to know some techniques you suggest for that.
Okay. Oh, this is another of my favorite soapboxes. Great question. So, I'm sure anybody who has heard anything about marketing is like, you gotta hit the pain points. You gotta drive it home and essentially make the person feel so miserable that they like give up and buy your thing, right? And this rubbed me the wrong way since the very first time I heard it. What I have learned is we do need to understand our client's pain point for the sake of being able to relate. Like, I know what it's like to wake up in the middle of the night. You're supposed to give a webinar or a workshop or something the next day, and you only have one person signed up. I know the anxiety of that. And that is a true pain point. I know the pain of trying everything that everyone and their uncle tells me to do to be successful and it feeling icky and not like me, but I don't know what else to do. So I do it anyway and not seeing any result. I know what it's like to put 16 hours a day into your business and not see result. But I need to know this and I need to be able to relate to this so that I can offer the solution. Like I know what it's like to be in your shoes. And here's the alternative, right? So it's something that you need to understand so that you can relate and show that you understand. And this is where our great skills of empathy and compassion come in and can really come across because we are who we are. It's not to rub salt in the wound and be like, you suck, your life sucks, your business sucks, buy my thing, right? It is completely opposite. So I really, like if I'm going to say an offer email or an offer video, I'm going to touch on the pain points. But what I'm really going to talk about and emphasize is the aspirations and the dreams. What do these people want? What's on the other side? And really paint that picture as opposed to you're hopeless, all that.
I think that's great. I mean, people are usually feeling down already. They don't need to be taken down. I feel like I spend a lot of my time uplifting,
Yes.
and I want people to feel better after they've talked to me or come to me or even emailed me than they did before.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's just like a basic underlying goal for me. So I'd love it if you would share a success story from the spiritual client code, how it transformed one of your clients' approach to communication. I think hearing those examples really is helpful.
Great, thank you. Yes. So one of my clients, and this is somewhat universal, but she in particular was very deep rooted in her belief that she could help everyone and she could help fix everything. And we really had to have a heart to heart conversation. And I said, look, you hired me for a reason and you know the work that I do. So, what if we suspended the idea? We know we can help anyone. We know it helps with everything. But who do you want to help? Like, do you, and I wasn't, trying to be mean, but it was like, do you want to help people that don't show up or don't pay you on time or, all the things that clients may or can do. I'm like, is that really what you want? She's like, no. Okay. So if you don't want that, what do you want? Like, I always love using the what I don't want as a contrast to what I do want, because that's where I want to live. So she was like, well, and as it came to like, she really wanted to help women. She got really specific. Women in midlife, like in their 40s, 50s, that were either starting to experience menopause or who were postmenopausal, who really were disconnected from their marriage, from their children. Like they had essentially checked out because there was no happiness, there was no fulfillment. They had nothing to fulfill them. They had been living for everybody else for, the past however many years they were married or had kids. And she knew, as we know, there's so much more for this person out there to live their life and not just exist, as we touched on at the very beginning of our talk, right? And she wanted to help them. It boiled down to find a new purpose and then implement a plan with them to fulfill this purpose, right? Very meaningful. Like, I want to know what my purpose is, big picture, and then how do I achieve that? And so this is what we worked with through our work, through the client, uh, the spiritual client code, to craft a message that would really resonate with people. And I said, we're going to do this for a month together. And then after that month, if you're not happy with your results, whatever, we'll go back to the I help everyone, I help them do everything. Well, needless to say, no surprise, she did not go back to her previous thought process. And she is amazing. Her work is so fabulous. And she has helped so many women who are in this situation that I described. And she's making she's not there yet, but she has made such great strides over the past 6 months to quit her full-time job, as she calls it. I got to get rid of this job. She's on her way. And she the last time we chatted, she sees it happening within the next 6 months.
And
So
that's pretty fast to build a
12
career.
months is a great time frame. It goes by so quick. But this is what happens is you gain more confidence in your messaging because your messaging infuses everything. I mean, it's the message of your business, it's the message of your service, it's the message of your offerings. It's what you're talking about when you do a video or you're on a summit or in a giveaway or, it infuses everything. And so the more confidence you have behind it, the more naturally you're going to speak about it, the more authentic you're going to feel, the more authentic you're going to come across. And it really, it does. It makes a huge shift in your business in terms of revenue, the clientele. I mean, like you get to start picking who you're working with instead of feeling like you got to take on just anybody. It was so fun because one of the first things that she said, one of her first milestones, which I hadn't recognized because it's important to recognize what the milestones are. She was like, oh my gosh, I worked with a stranger. Meaning it was no longer just friends and family that she felt she could wrangle in to work with her. It was somebody she didn't even know. I get to work with a stranger. And that was so exciting for her. Do you remember the first time you got to work with a stranger?
I started with strangers.
Lucky you.
Kind of.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, that's a big step, right? From feeling like you're harassing your friends and your family to always do something with you to, oh my gosh, there's somebody out there I don't even know. I'm not even sure how they found me, but now I get to work with them.
Actually, I get that way when it's not someone who's referred by a client or comes from my podcast or my book, and they just come to me some other way. That's like always like, oh, wow, that's great. I feel like my reach is improving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So you
love
start
that.
getting those reinforcements, right? Yeah. It's very
Oh my
exciting.
gosh. So we probably touched on this a bit, but what do you think are the most common misconceptions about communications for spiritual businesses?
I think They include things like I have to do it the way that the expert tells me I have to do it, right? Um, I think the other misconception, like I talked about consistency, but then there's the thought like I have to be on every single solitary platform 24/7. So not. I think that's a huge misconception. I believe that if you truly do not enjoy social media, you can build a business without it. And even if you do enjoy social media, you don't have to be everywhere all the time. You just have to be very selective and very intentional, right?
Hmm.
We're not out there just to make noise. We have to be very intentional about how we are, in that space. Um, and then the other misconception isn't so much with messaging, but the belief this is another big one that we have to work on that it's more spiritual to be poor. Like
Oh, yes.
I can't share my gifts and make money. But here's the truth about that. We chose to be on this planet in this time and place, wherever you are. And the currency of this time and place is money. So you deserve and need to make money to exist in this environment. And so it is not your being poor does not help anybody else. Your being poor does not equate that you are taking it from somebody else, right?
No.
Or you're being wealthy, sorry, doesn't mean that you've taken it away from somebody else. The more abundant we are, whether it be financially abundant, abundant in love, abundant in generosity, abundant in nature, the more we live that and the more we are that, the more it uplifts others and allows them to see that abundance.
I totally agree with that. And where a lot of people get stuck is even taking money at all for using their gift. And I like to say, yes, it's a God-given gift, it's a spiritual gift, but it comes from God, you were born with it. How is that different from athletes who are born with exceptional athletic ability or opera singers who are born with a phenomenal voice or an artist who paints magnificently? If you're born with a gift, you're supposed to do something with it.
Yep.
And so, yes, for the reasons you're saying, we can't live without money. I'm not one for greed. I think we need to make sure our needs are met. And I trust that that will happen, but I also love something you said, and I wanna emphasize it because it's important, that abundance is not all about money.
Yeah.
It's about everything in your life that makes it feel full and rich, and thank you for talking about that.
Yeah. Everything. You're so right. It is. It's everything. Yeah.
It is, and that again is different for different people too.
Yes. Yep.
So what advice would you give for the spiritual business people who are struggling to convey their unique voice, their message?
Um, I would recommend that you spend a not a lot of time, but like the first step would be envision what you want your business to look like. And what I mean by that is you're an entrepreneur for a reason, right? So that means we get to make a lot of choices in our business that impact our life. So, what do you want to experience as a result of this business? Do you want to write a book? Do you want to travel the world promoting your book or be an inspirational speaker and get paid for it? Um, is it about the impact? Who is it that you want to impact and in what ways? How do you want to feel when you're in your business? Um, Particularly for people like us and your audience, Ivory, like our business is an extension of ourselves. So it's not like I clock in from 8 to 5 and I forget about it and I'm somebody completely different. I'm the same person, whether I'm in a business setting or a personal setting or a community setting or whatever, right? I mean, we are our business. So there's no fine distinction about that. So how do you want to feel when you're in your business? And what do you see right now? Like this changes, every 6 months or so. But like what does success look like and feel like for you in this moment, right? Not 10 years out, but in this moment, what does that look like? What does it feel like? What are you doing on a daily basis? How are you showing up for yourself and for your clients and your loved ones? Um, and really get clear on that because that will help you really focus in on your decision making. Like before, maybe there were, 10 things that you might choose from, but when you're clear on your vision, it's like, oh, there's only two really that are appropriate here. So which of the two? Yeah.
Well, I love that. And I think all of that's really helpful. I can see how coaching with you would help most spiritual businesses. I mean, unless they've already done this work with someone or they learned it through a previous career,
Yeah.
I think most can use it. We're going to run out of time, but I want to give you an opportunity to say how to best contact you, Karen.
Okay. Well, one, if you are interested in the spiritual client code, I think there is going to be a link to that. And you can just go check it out. And you can check out the offer page, see what's all included, and see if that resonates with you. My next favorite place to connect with people is inside my private Facebook community, the Female Entrepreneur Society. And there will be a link to that as well, I believe. If not, you can just look it up on Facebook and find it and ask to join. But I do trainings in there every week. There's just all kinds of great material in there for you if you're not ready to invest in a coach that you can use in your business right away. You can visit the website, karengrubercoaching.com. I have free resources on there as well. There's just always something going on, so you can always find me.
Well, I will also put that on the message page. You see, when you look up the description of the show, whether you're listening or watching, you'll be able to see these links
Thank
under
you.
the show description. So I want to thank you for being on the show today. It's been great. I think that what you're doing is amazing.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to travel to Sedona and tell you I'm on my way. I'd love to meet you in person.
I look forward to that, Karen, very much so. I love your energy. I want to just say very quickly, please stay tuned in next week because the topic is surrender to your mission. And it's talking about for you light workers, you people who know you have a mission, you're here for a reason, why it's important to come to a place where you surrender to it, what that means, and how you can do it. And just before we leave, may your angels surround you. May your angels protect you every moment, every day of your life. I'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. I wanted to let you know, and I didn't
Sure.
want to say it during the show, but your volume is really low. Your volume is low. And so I think in my video editor, I can bump it up. But I want to let you know for future, you need to be much louder.
Thank you. I felt I was talking pretty loud, so I wondered if
What kind of mic are you using? Like I use this. I don't know if you can see it because of the background.
I have
Like
a microphone on this, so maybe this is not working up to snuff.
it may not
Um,
be enough for a podcast to pick it up well,
okay.
but I do use video editing where I can make changes and like take
Okay.
out where I said you helped thousands of clients.
I actually my resume does now say that I have hit the 1,000 mark.
Oh, well then I'm gonna change it the other way and leave it in.
Yeah, no, thank you for the heads up on the microphone. I will look into that and see if I can get somebody to help me with that. That's good to know.
Okay, but you look great and your background is lovely.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And
This is
please
my
do let
little
me know when
hideaway.
you're coming to town. Please do.
I would love to meet you all. Thank you, Ivory, so much.
All right. Have a wonderful day, Karen.
I will. You too, hon.
Bye.